Good evening, everybody, and welcome to ASTV, the Thursday night podcast on the American Scousers TV. We have Trevor, as always, and we have Brian, as always, and we have technical difficulties, as always, but we get through them because that's what we do, and that's who we are. We will start tonight just a little bit because we're Liverpool fans, and this is a Liverpool site and a Liverpool podcast. We do share some history with our neighbours in blue across the park in Stanley Park, who lost their former chairman Bill Kenwright this week. Sadly, passed away, but apparently a fantastic help for the Hillsborough campaign in the city of Liverpool. So our condolences go out to them. But as I said, we are a Liverpool site, and we're going to talk about all things Liverpool today. How are we, Trevor?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
Brian, how are you tonight?
Doing great.
I like the little tag underneath Brian's name because that's what we're going to talk about today. A 5-1 was in the end, wasn't it? A nice, comfortable victory against Toulouse.
Answering your question, muted like a.
Yeah, because we also do telepathy on Thursday nights. We're fantastic at that. But yes, a nice 5-1 victory. It was a comfortable one. What I want to talk about first from both of you guys is Toulouse themselves. They weren't. Nobody's going to pretend they're PSG or a Bayern Munich or a top-level team by any stretch of the imagination, but they were quite organised. They seemed well coached, and they were quite dynamic on the counter-attack. We had essentially a second-string mix out there, some starters, some second string, some players returning from injury. So they should have given us a game on paper, and they did give us a bit of a game in the first half at least. But what kind of a test was that, Trevor, and then Brian? And then also, in terms of the players that played, how did they perform in light of that test?
Yeah, I think the score line is significantly skewed, because it could have been much worse, or it could have been closer from Toulouse's standpoint, in my opinion. And this is just watching condensed highlights and kind of reading match reports. They were a team that kind of was a bit loosey-goosey. They didn't really have much in the way of structure. I can see that comparison. That it was a team that kind of doesn't really know their way. They have really talented players on every level of the pitch. Their goalie probably didn't deserve to give up 5 goals, but when you are getting just beaten on the amount of times that he is, it's just kind of a war of attrition at that point. But I think in the end, this is a very just result, and hopefully it's something that can kind of keep us in a easier, just kind of free, not necessarily like free hit mode for the last 3 games, but kind of just cruise control, where we can kind of not necessarily take the last 3 games of the group off, but kind of experiment like he did with Chambers, and I'm sure we'll talk about him over the course of this evening, but kind of giving some people some run that we normally would not even think of doing it.
Brian, what did you think of the game, and what did you think of Toulouse as an opponent?
I mean, they played as a mid-level league owned side. I mean, I think that they did, like Trevor said, the score was kind of flattering in some instances right there. I thought that they were very organized. They actually stressed us out. I mean, for the mixed kind of side that we had, their one goal they got off on a counter, with a loose ball. I mean, that definitely showed us, that same kind of fragility that our back line still has, no matter who you kind of put in that back line, and there still is that little bit of a chance that there's a goal is going to leak in. But I thought they played us well. I mean, I think that as this result was pretty much what you would expect from this type of match. But I think that they were, kudos to their management, and kudos to their lineup. I think that some of our guys right there, it was good to see Luke Chambers, like you said, get a run out. Keller coming off of his injury, getting a good run out. And actually go there and basically pretty much kept a pretty decent game. I mean, I did see some kind of moments right here where I was like, what happened right there? And I know that Galley can't there even sit at the boards right there. How we possibly could have came there and saw a dip in his form right there where we could have probably capitalized on it this past summer. But yeah, I think overall, I think we did pretty well, except for my quote right there, smashing that post. I mean, we had that one Darwin Nunez moment like we always do, but he got his goal. But I think that it was good to
see. In terms of before we get to the what will surely be a golden memory for years and years and years to come for all concerned. Let's go back to the goal they scored. Or not the goal they scored, the Trent Alexander-Arnold save off the line with the hip. We talk about Kelleher being like a natural replacement for Becker down the line. But the pass out that created that whole situation, was that rustiness or was that the difference between Alisson Becker and Caoimhín Kelleher, Trevor?
I think that was just a brain fart, because you could immediately his facial expressions looked like the VAR tape from Spurs. It was just pure panic of just, oh no, what have I done? And then the Toulouse player just kicked it at the one spot that he couldn't, and Trent gave it a little one hop this time off the line, which was nice. But yeah, I don't take that as a real just kill shot on Kelleher as Alisson's replacement down the line. He's still, and as Brian said, he's coming off an injury. He's a guy that doesn't get a ton of minutes, and you're putting him in this instance, and it is something where you kind of just, especially when the game was kind of back and forth the way it was at that point. After we scored, there was a lot of back and forth, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of there, and then you're like, oh no, wait, oh okay, breathe a little bit, and then I really think that he's a guy that is going to not necessarily take over from Alisson anytime soon, but if there's an injury, I still have the utmost faith in Kelleher to kind of be between the sticks, no matter those types of instances. If it was 0-0 and he did that, I think we'd have a much different perspective on it. But the fact that it was the score that it was, I don't think we can get too worked up about it, but still kind of just keep it in the back of your head.
Brian, the goal we conceded, it was not one we haven't seen before. You live by the trap, you die by the trap. Is that just something we have to always accept, that we're susceptible to those kinds of breaks, especially if one player, because that's the only problem with the offside trap high line thing, is if one player is out of position, the entire defense is out of position, even if they're all in the right position. But at the same time, it was a good piece of speed of play from Toulouse to actually take advantage, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but you said right there, if you play with a high line, you run that risk constantly of getting hit on the counter. I think you also deal with if a kind of makeshift back line that we had right there for the most part. With Luke Chambers on that side. I mean, where they hit where they knew they could. Would that have happened right there with Simicast or Rabo? Perhaps, it's just a gamble you play. But I mean, if you're going to play for a more offensive style, I mean, and you play high, then I mean, you're going to go there and run that risk. But I mean, I think that they took the goal well. I mean, and actually, really honestly, there was lots of opportunities where they could have probably scored a couple more goals, even toward the end of that second half. I mean, where they had some pretty, we were kind of sloppy with the ball and was scouting, going there and having a little bit of a getting played the ball a little bit too much right there and getting ran on. I mean, But overall, it's over. We were 9 points in that, and to the good. So I'm good with it.
The thing watching the game that I caught the first half in the car on the way back before and I just watched the entire game all over from scratch. Thank you, Paramount. But the thing that surprised me is I think we might have talked about this before, or we've spoken about it on the post match. These seem to be the kind of games that suit Endo. And I thought Endo was really, really good in that first half. It was like the Endo we thought we were going to get, Trevor. He got the goal. Is this where Endo finds his rotation in games like these and maybe the League Cup or the FA Cup?
That has to be, because I think in the way that we're attacking the Premier League right now, he's not going to get many starts. And with the way we're chasing goals at the end of a lot of games, I don't think he's going to get many closing efforts either. But yeah, he showed a lot today in terms of being able to be that kind of fulcrum where you can stop the ball and then just get the attack going the other way, yet kind of just blend yourself in it. And the header that he got was really well taken, especially from the angle it was coming on. For him to kind of get back and get it in was pretty impressive. And even had a couple other shots that he just skated a little bit wide, where if he would have able to get like 2 goals, I think that would have really just built his confidence even that much more. And granted, I think he's still kind of flying high after this one. But if he had gotten a brace in a European game, I think that would have been huge for him. But more than anything, I like to see what he can do given these opportunities again. And we just we're going up and down with Toulouse. We're like going to call them a lesser team, but we're going to say that they played well, but they kind of stink. But they're really fun, but they're not as good. But they could do this, and yeah, they're like every side of my mouth is Toulouse slander and praise. And but for him to come out and kind of do it in this setting was really big for him. And I hope it's just something that now that Klopp sees that he has these types of movements and these types of things in his repertoire, maybe he does come in late in the game if we need a goal, and because he can start it and get on the end if need be.
Brian, we talk about Endo there. Curtis Jones did Curtis Jones thing. It was nice to see him again. But to me, the standout midfielder today, and disagree with me if you think I'm wrong, but Gravenberch was absolutely fantastic. Got the goal, showed a lot of what it is he can do, and made me actually forget that he was out injured. He was so mobile. Was it good for you? Or was it as good for you as it was for me, Brian, to see Gravenberch actually show the potential that we've talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Gravenberch was fantastic. I just sit and think back right there that at the start of the summer that we wound up having Szoboszlai and Gravenberch in the same in this midfield. I mean, and McAllister. I mean, I'm ecstatic about it. I thought he should have had an assist right there with Nunez, but he got the goal instead right there. But I mean, he definitely controlled that match, and it just puts questions right there about where do we want to go through and do with this with these midfielders. I mean, and I like questions like this. I think that we need to have these this type of stressful thing. Who's going to get pressured on this right there? I mean, and if we start adding in a number 6 into this equation right there, a real 6, I mean, we've got a hell of a midfielder on our hands right there. That we can pretty much challenge both sides of the Premiership at the moment.
In terms of we can finally get to it now. We have Jota with a goal. Actually, before we even go there, Luke Chambers, I thought he was quite composed. we seem to be turning out, Trevor, a nice little conveyor belt of academy lads and young lads coming through. That you maybe we're not looking for spectacular kids anymore, but there's certainly kids that can fill a role going forward, can't they?
Yeah, and as with anything, you're going to see somebody thrown into that instance, and you're going to see a bit of nerves. And we definitely saw that from him. He had multiple occasions, and like I said, from what I saw about 22 minutes worth of total highlights, and I saw about 2 times where he was on roller skates. And that, I don't think that probably paints the best picture of him for the entirety of his time on the pitch, but it's something where at least Klopp was confident enough in him to give him that opportunity. And you could say that, well, it's because of injuries that he's even in there. But I think these Europa League games are also something where we probably rotate Robertson out anyways. And Costas could, if we wanted to move Trent out for a game or anything, and when we're putting Gomez in the middle, he'd probably play over there. So there's a chance that Chambers is going to play regardless of health. So like I said, he didn't set the world on fire, but he didn't set his teammates on fire either. He wasn't bad, but he wasn't great. But he's also incredibly young, and there was times where he didn't look out of place. He played like a young player that was trying. Just 2 words in the end. He's a baby giraffe. There was one of those things where he kind of looked awkward, but then, okay, I know how to stand. About 20, 25, 30 minutes in, it's like, okay, I got my feet under me, and we're good. Yeah, that's the best I can do for Luke Chambers. However circuitous and weirdly awkward my answer was, that was his performance.
Brian, do you think that may be an indication of the policy for FSG in regards to how the transfers going forward are, in that they're going to use the academy instead of looking for the next Gerrard and the next Fowler and the next Michael Owen and the next Steve McManaman, etc., etc.? They're going to use the academy to get, the not the water carriers, because they have a bit more talent than that, but the players that you need to build to create the foundation, and then you spend the money on the players you need to have that X factor.
I mean, within the academy right there, the percentage of players that actually go there and make it is pretty slim. I mean, especially on a premiership side, on a premiership level. I mean, you think about the academy graduates that we've had over the past couple of years, and how many are still in the squad at the moment. I mean, you basically talk about Trent for the most part. I mean, Gomez came fairly young. I mean, you can't really say I include him. Harvey really was an academy product of us right there. I think that most of the time right there, you're going to have with these with academy, you're going to have the model right there where you make an investment right there, and is your kind of your cash cow in a way. I mean, we're kind of like how, I hate to say, like Chelsea, who basically used their academy right there to actually profit off, and City does the same thing. This is the way that that top premiership sides go. If we find that one gem, fantastic. But more than likely, you're going to find like a rock for the most part. There, I can't say rock necessarily, but a player who is not going to quite make it at this level. Some will go there and wind up going down. Connor Cody, for example, will go there, wind up going there and making it on other sides. But it's all about making money, funding the side to go there to get better pieces to fit our side. I mean, some players make it, some don't.
So finally, we get to move to where we want to move to talk about the front line. We had a goal from Jota. Elliott played quite well. Nice little touches there in some of the combinations. But obviously, the talking point for tonight for the forward line is Nunes gets a fantastic goal for himself. And then I think we've been the ones that said this from the start on the Thursday podcast. every time he has time to think about it, he does something really, really, really stupid with the ball. That was such an open goal that I could have scored it, falling over, running after a potato and a pint of Guinness before it fell to the ground. And yet Darwin Núñez, the professional soccer player, managed to hit the post. Trevor, what's that all about?
I think he needs to just be. Is there a way to like half lobotomize somebody? I really think that he overthinks so many things, especially he is the person, put every single sports analogy into one. He's that hockey player with an empty net. He is that basketball player with a open layup. Every time that there is a chance for Darwin Núñez to hit a absolute tap in, it just a calamitous situation. Every time he has to hit a looping 75-mile-an-hour shot over 3 people past the goalkeeper into a playing card top corner, no problem. It's the absolute maddening thing about him, and it's at this point, what are we going to do? If he can't hit that shot and he can't put that into the net, there's nothing that a coach can come over and tell him, be like, well, you gotta not do that. It's not about technique. It's not about it's all mental at that point. If you can see that gaping of an orifice for you to put the ball into, and you're just like, nah, ping it off the post. And it wasn't like he was off balance. It wasn't as if there was heaping amounts of pressure. It was just what it was. And I don't know how to fix it. I'm not going to sit here and ask and try to like ascertain what needs to be done. But yeah, we just have to take the ebbs with the flows with Darwin. That's what he brings to the table. And I'm if I keep pulling out my hair, I'm going to be joining y'all in about 7 or 8 game weeks with this guy. So, yeah, I'll keep the hat on just for the mystery. So you guys don't know when it actually is finally over.
Brian, it seemed almost like he could have scored that much easier if he tripped up over his own feet and fell on the ball and squeezed it and popped it under his ankle to go in. But is this a problem for us in terms of the future for Darwin Núñez? Because we're going to be in games where we'll need that. That might be the only chance to win the Champions League final, or might be the only chance to score the goal against City in the second last game of the season to win the league. Do we need somebody who is going to be more composed in front of goal? In which case, is a situation where the first serious bid for Darwin Núñez sees him pack his bags, or are we going to do we have to still remain patient with him even if this continues into the end of the season?
I remember us being really frustrated with another Uruguayan right there when he first came here. Not making mistakes and not going there and scoring well, and he turned out pretty well. Talk about Mr. Luis Suarez. I mean, I think, first of all, right there, I was ready to. I felt like I was drunk FIFA, hitting the B button way too fucking hard, and I think there was about to throw my controller down right there on Darwin Núñez's play. And so I was really frustrated. I was like, how could you miss basically a tap in? But I think you really still have to give him time. He's still a kid. In the world of strikers. I can't. Do I think that he's our best that we have at the moment? No, I think the Gapco's probably is a lot better than him. I think that Jota right there and with finding space is better than him. But it's like we talked about it here for I guess now for like almost a year right there. It's the chaos that this kid causes, man. It's like people are scared of it when he runs at you. You don't know. Yeah, he's going to do this easy one, but he's going to go out there and do some weird shit right there and score a goal that you're like, how, why, when, where, who? But so you have to have. You have to have faith. Strikers right there are odd lot for the most part anyway, with their peaks and forms and selfishness and all that. So I mean, you just have to go out there and let the kid go out there and play through it. I mean, I think that tell him, put your arm around his shoulder and say, "Hey, guy, do better next time." Or think about this a little bit better next time, right there. Or don't overthink it next time. I mean, whatever you were doing in your head, don't do that.
Trevor, now just with the comment for Suzy saying we're a bit too harsh, and then saying that Mane and Salah also missed sitters. But maybe not. I don't think, at least on the rate that Nunes seems to, and they're not really sitters. It's just, as you say, the complicated, bent like a banana into the top 90 with 10 defenders on the line shot. He can do that like in his sleep. It's the simple ones that he seems to have problems with. But what I noticed, and what would concern me a little bit, and I'll see if you guys both noticed it as well, is that when he hit the post, he fell to the ground and onto his knees and faced away from the goal, while Gravenberch put it in the net. Is this an issue for you guys, starting with Trevor, that I think in our Discord, which everybody should be on, Tanuchin said it seems to get to him really, really quickly when he misses. And maybe that's the difference between Salah and Mane and the Nunes and Suarez, because we know Suarez hit the post a ton of times in 2012, but it never fazed him. He just carried on. These guys, the top strikers, they know they're going to get another chance, and they know they'll probably put that one away. Whereas Nunes seemed to just collapse a little bit for a moment. Is this something to be concerned about, or was he maybe just a little bit embarrassed at the sheer easiness of the chance he missed, Trevor?
Yeah, as somebody who is a serial beater up of oneself, I felt that when he kind of just collapsed. He was like Charlie Brown after kicking at the football and it getting pulled away again. There was just so much empathy I had for him in that point. I'm like, yeah, I've been there, never in that stage, obviously, but just kind of that, wow, I really fucked the big one right there, and just I have nothing else in my soul but shame, and I'm just gonna plop to the ground and just stare at the grass and hope that it all just goes away. And it did for him, because Gravenberch was able to pull up on the rebound and put it in. So that kind of just negates it more than less, because it didn't really affect the bottom line of the game. But in terms of his psyche, I agree that Mo and I'd say Mo and Suarez more than anything, because Mane's misses, those built up on him. He was a guy that would go for like 3 or 4 games where he would miss some absolutely just on a plate chances, and then he'd kind of stare off into nowhere, and you'd think, oh God, what is wrong with Sadio? And then, like Darwin, he would get that late breakaway, and you'd have to weave through 7 people, and then you put it top corner, and you're like, that's who he is. That's great. I think there's, and like I said before, I don't know how to fix it. I don't know if you need to get like a sports psychologist in there and get him to just talk through his process in those moments. Because other than that, it's just about keep giving him those opportunities, keep putting him in those positions. And if it continues to like pile up with these howlers and these misses, then maybe you have to reassess. But until then, until you kind of just let him exhaust an innumerable amount of opportunities, because I don't know what the line is for Jurgen Klopp, how many times he can see this person that they're putting so much faith in rifle it off the post or put it into the 19th row. That I'm not the person that can set that bar for him, but that it has to exist. And when we find out that he has hit that proverbial bar instead of the actual bar, there's going to be some consequences, I think, coming down from up on high. And whether it's him being sold, I don't think we're at that stage yet. But there could be some times where, you're only a cup / Europa League guy.
Brian, before we move on to the game at the weekend, if you're to lose and you're 4-1 down, and then you see Liverpool making a substitution, and it's Mohamed Bloody Salah, oh come on, guys! And then before that, it's Cody Gakpo, oh come on, guys! Looking at that, and in terms of the Europa League, and given the confidence of today's performance, knock on wood, not saying which wood, are we looking like favourites for the Europa League?
I really think that we are pretty much favorites for the Europa League. I mean, the only side I can really look on here right there is, I think that Roma got a pretty good result today. But they look pretty good for coming off there. But again, it's an aging squad with them. But I think that we've got a definitely good chance. I just want to go back with when you're talking about Nunez real quick. I think you have to go there that sometimes that us as supporters can be fickle with situations. And look at Rashford at the moment, that the form that he was on, and now the form that he is not on at the moment. I mean, you could pretty easily go there and be complaining about his form with United as being a lot worse than what it is with Nunez at the moment. I mean, I think that Nunez right there, he's a kid. And he's a forward. I mean, he does bring more things to the match right there than just scoring goals. I mean, I know that's what his main role is. But I think that, you have to go there and put an arm around the guy, like I said right there, and say, hey, man, just stop overthinking this shit. Just put the fucking ball in the net.
So let's move on from the Europa League to the Premier League. We play on Sunday, yet again, a Thursday-Sunday game for Liverpool. Thanks, guys. But I don't believe we're the early morning game. I think we might be at a reasonable time for a change. But we're playing Forest. It seems like on paper that's like a 1988 to 1992 era level game on paper. Liverpool versus Forest, with Liverpool challenging for the top honours and Forest somewhere in the middle. They've won 2 games all season, Trevor. We have enough rested players now. Are we looking at a game where we make a statement and we say, right, we're in this for sure and we're going to take on all comers? Or is this another potential banana skin where we're going to struggle, and we're going not struggle, but we're going to have a lot of the ball, but not a lot of the chances, and we're really going to need some sort of special magic to break the deadlock?
I'd say if we were coming from France and going to Nottingham, I'd be worried about this. But 2 back-to-back home games with Forest there, I'm not super worried, which should make everybody else worried, because I am the absolute beacon of false faith. I am a person that when I am really high on something, that just is a farther place to fall from. There's no reason why we shouldn't not necessarily pump for us, but at least get 3 going away and kind of cruise past them, because they have good goal scorers and they have people that can give us issues. I'm not discounting their ability to kind of make a bit of a mess, especially if we're going to go with a makeshift back line in any fashion that we put it out there. There's going to be chances for Forest to get goals, but I just think this game just smells like 3-1, 4-1, and if it doesn't end up that way, then we're going to be sitting here next Thursday talking about red cards, or we're going to be talking about VAR, or we're going to talk about somebody got attacked by a rabid dog in the tunnel. There's going to be
I don't think Suarez is going to be there, Trevor.
There's going to be something just absolutely left of center that comes into play to make this a game that we have to have earnest and just really morbid discussions about.
Brian, City play United and Spurs are away to Crystal Palace. Two derbies there that could help us out in terms of points. Arsenal have Sheffield United at home, so we can assume that they're probably going to win that. But let's just say that derbies work out the way derbies tend to work out in, as we said last week, form goes out the window. If it comes to it that City draw or maybe a narrow loss and Spurs maybe draw and we win, and let's say Sheffield United are nice to us and they put in the performance of their lives. We're coming into November now, but like a few more games before we're into the Christmas period. We want to be putting down markers now. We want to really challenge for the league this year, don't we, Brian?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at the next couple of matches that we have, they're all lower table sides. So we have to go out there and actually put these guys to the sword. I mean, with Forest with there, if you look at the 2 wins that Forest had, they beat Chelsea early on in the season when they were like this evil mess, and they beat Sheffield United. They had to come from behind against Luton Town last week to get a point. I mean, I don't see how this is how. I mean, of course, anything's possible, but like Trevor, I don't see how we can lose to Nottingham Forest at the moment. I mean, I just don't see it. You were speaking of the Manchester derby right there. I wanted to go, just send condolences out to people listening about Sir Bobby Charlton. Also, stand-up guy right there. Rival, but all rivals aside, right there. He's a big marker in the game. So I just want to send my condolences out there in the podcast world. But yeah, I think that we definitely need to go there and run the gamut right at the moment right there until we get to the Christmas break. I mean, we got a couple hard fixtures coming up in December. I mean, that we have to make sure that we go there and get as many wins as we possibly can.
Trevor, would you look at what Nunes did today and then give him the chance again anyway on Sunday, or would you see how Gakpo is and then start him? Does Jota get to keep his spot? And we'll assume Salah starts up front. And then, just to make your brain melt a little bit, how do you solve the midfield conundrum coming into this weekend?
I personally am putting Cody Gakpo up front against Nottingham Forest, just because I think he is the guy that will help properly facilitate for as many assists as Darwin has for the likes of Diaz and Salah. Gakpo is the guy that I think against Nottingham Forest is the guy that's going to make them pay for their overcommitment, because they're a team that tries to act like they can punch above their weight, and a lot of times they can't. So Gakpo's the guy that's going to make them pay for that. In terms of the midfield, I really liked seeing Curtis back today. I really liked seeing all these guys get those opportunities to just shine. Like we were talking about Harvey. He's a guy you just want to see him start just as that attaboy, but I don't think it's really necessary to shoehorn him into that at this point, because he is so good at making tired teams pay, because he's just all over the place. And I don't mean that in a negative fashion. I mean that as literally he's all over the place and you can't track him. It's tough. He's tough to mark. He's a guy that can really just take a broken play and make something of it. So I don't know what we're going to be looking at for Sunday, especially if Klopp wants to do more of this second half experimenting with taking Costas out and having just Diaz be running 100-meter dashes up the left-hand side the entire time. I don't know. I wish I had a better answer, but I'm just going to leave that to people much smarter than me.
Brian, Diaz didn't get minutes tonight, as far as I saw, unless I missed something in the last few. Does that mean he's probably going to start on Sunday?
Yeah, he's going to start on Sunday. I mean, he got gassed. I mean, in that last against in the derby. I mean, he was struggling a lot before we moved it back a little bit further. But for me, it's Diaz, Gapco, and Mo in that front line, and then what I'd like to see I'd like to see McAllister and Slabazai at the top of that midfield with either Gravenberch or with his performance today, Endo as that holder. I mean, right there. If we could, I think that we can kind of play around a little bit with this right here. I think that we have enough talent on our side that we're gonna beat Forest. I mean, that we could play with numbers a little bit. And I think that Endo needs another match. I think that that we have to kind of give him a payback for the performance that he did this first half, and I think that this type of match right there is meant for him. Same thing with Luton Town that we have coming up. Those are the type of matches that we have to have Endo play, versus the top tier matches where where we could go through and put more talent on there. But Endo, he's a stopper. I mean, and I think that's what we need for this fight.
Trevor, on that note, let's play Endo's fantasy football. He gets to start at the base of the midfield. Gravenberg, Jabajlai, and Jabo, for that is his name, and Gakpo in a sort of false nine midfield diamond with Salah and Diaz creating chaos up front, and Nunez chomping at the bit to go and do the same a little bit later on. And McAllister probably feeling all miffed and ready to go and cause some damage when he gets on the field. You don't want to be Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper. I was getting confused with Steve Cropper, the musician guy from the 60s. But you don't want to be the Nottingham Forest manager planning for this weekend, really, is essentially what I'm trying to say, do you?
No, because there are tons of options, and especially if Klopp wants to keep riding with Jota up front, because he got the goal. He got an early goal today, and he looked like vintage Jota in doing so. So that you're not going to really fault him for keeping that. More than anything, I want to just see this Forest game. I want it to be a morning where I can sit there and not have to worry about the first goal. I want us to be attacking enough where if they do get a goal, it's completely out of nothing, and I want the impetus to go get 2 goals before my food even comes out of the kitchen. I want that is what I want. I want us to just really get on the front foot, get ahead of it, so we can make these moves early in the second half, kind of not necessarily take the foot off the gas, because you want to kind of like Brian said, put these teams to the sword. Go get a 5-0 win. I'm not expecting that, but this string of games, Forest, Bournemouth, Luton, you have to have at least one of those games where you absolutely kick the fucking snot out of one of them. You have one of them. That's I'm not asking for it to be like 15-1 goal differential over the 3 games, but you have to have at least one where you assert your dominance if we're going to be viewed as title contenders. And
go ahead.
No. That's the long and short of it. You got to have at least one of those games where you really just put your foot down and put a marker.
So on that note, Brian, what I was going to say was that it looks like, with City having a slight dullness to them this season, and with Spurs having a bit of a resurgence, and Arsenal being Lego-headed Arsenal, and us being fantastic. It could come down to goal difference in the end for deciding whatever it's going to decide, whether it's the champions or the top four. So is Trevor correct? We really do need to put down some sort of a game where we're 5-6-7-0 or something like that. Number one, for the psychological benefit, and number two, because those extra 2 or 3 goals that you normally wouldn't get in a game statistically could be the 2 or 3 goals that put us over the line.
Absolutely. I mean, goals, that could be an extra point basically with goal difference right there in the long run. So you have to go in there and make this run out. I mean, like Trevor said right there, I don't expect that we're going to go out there and go at the 15-0 goal difference out of these 3 matches that are coming up. But, we definitely have to go out there at least come out with at least a +7 or a +8. I mean, out of these 3 matches, to go out there to compete with that. I mean, especially when you have the potential of a free score in the city once they get themselves straight. I mean, they're squeaking by right at the moment, but they're still getting 3 points. I mean, so in the long run right there, you have to go out there and get this goal difference built up.
Trevor, give me a quick rundown of what you would select as the starting lineup for Sunday and your score prediction as well, please.
So, yeah, I would definitely go with, Allison goal. That just picks itself. Trent, I think we give Matip another start. I think he was good enough today, and Kanate, I think, needs to get a game off the bench. I don't think we need to kind of like throw him into that fire again right away. So Matip and Van Dijk, Simicast on the left. As much as I enjoy that 4-1-2-1-2 that I used to rock in FIFA all the time, I don't think it's going to happen. I think we're going to see Gravenberch, McAllister, and Jobo. And
so that is his name.
That is his name. He is the Jobo Cop. And I think as much as I want to see Gakpo in the middle up front, I think it's going to be Jota again. Just because Klopp is kind of like a creature of habit, and he'll play his strikers like 3 or 4 games in a row and then kind of hockey shift it to the next guy, and he'll play 3 or 4 in a row. And then it's like, and I don't think Gakpo's back to the second line yet. So we'll see if I'm proven wrong. Hey, if Gakpo starts, I love being proven wrong. Please, just do it for me.
Brian, your lineup and Trevor, score prediction.
3-1 good guys.
3-1 good guys. Brian, your lineup and score prediction.
It's completely unchanged from Trevor. I mean, everything that Trevor said right there was pretty much spot on with what I think right there. Same thing. If Gakpo goes up front right there, fantastic. But I think that Jota is probably going to be the guy. Right? I don't think Gakpo's ready for it yet. I think that he'll be probably a 60-minute sub, and I think we're going to run out with 4-0. I just don't see how we're even going to give them an opportunity. I think that they're so much stronger than them.
We have 3-1 from Alan. So I think we're still PTSD'd about us conceding goals, regardless of how well we're actually playing. My lineup would probably be about the same, except I could see Nunes getting a start just to try and shake the cobwebs off from that miss in some sort of generosity kind of thing. But I wouldn't have any complaints if the lineup you and Trevor, Brian, that you mentioned, if that was the lineup, I think we'd all be happy as Liverpool fans. The fantastic thing is we have all those options to play around with. We're not struggling to figure out who's going to fill a spot. And then cringing at who actually is available. You've got plenty of options. My scoreline prediction, 6-1. That's mine. I'm going to be adventurous. I think we're still going to concede somehow. I just don't have that faith in us. But we will concede because we're going for 6 goals. That's the way I'm going to look at it. And we're going to open ourselves up.
Set piece counter.
Yeah, that's the one. Set piece counter. So that's it for tonight. The Premier League Fantasy Show is on after, I believe. Make sure you are gently placing your finger on the like and subscribe buttons, or smashing them like Darwin Núñez smashes a post, but obviously don't have a face full of regret afterwards like Darwin Núñez. We have our morning show tomorrow, sponsored by Reckless Coffee. Make sure you're getting your coffee beans from those guys. They're fantastic by all accounts. And we will have possibly pre-match, post-match on Sunday. And we will be back to our normal schedule, as always, with the Monday and the Thursday podcasts, DPL show, etc. All the good stuff that you would know about if you liked and subscribed. And followed us on the Discord and followed us on all the socials. So just remains to say thank you to Trevor and thank you to Brian. Make sure you have a good weekend, a safe weekend, and enjoy the tricky mighty Reds on Sunday, as we probably see one more glorious Darwin Núñez miss at 7-0. Peace out, everybody.